Hi, I'm Judith Leblein, and welcome to another edition of Conversations. Today's conversation is with Middlesex County Prosecutor Glenn Berman, also a resident of East Brunswick. Welcome, Glenn.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
I've been waiting a long time to have this opportunity to speak with you.
Well, I appreciate it.
Tell us, television has really glamorized the world of law, and court TV has made us all amateur jurists. And Judge Wapner and Judge Judy has made us all very interested in the law. But I bet most people don't know what a prosecutor does. What do you do as county prosecutor?
Well, my job is to oversee an office of over 200 people, and we prosecute crimes in the county, anything and everything from theft to murder. We don't prosecute things that are heard in our local municipal courts, such as motor vehicle offenses or minor offenses such as shoplifting, simple assaults. But essentially, we're responsible for handling every indictable case that comes from our police departments throughout the county.
And who actually appoints a prosecutor?
Prosecutors are appointed by the governor with consent by the state senate.
And how long is your term?
5 years.
Okay. So now we have those logistics set aside. An appointment from a governor, in most cases, in many cases, has some political ramifications. Now, how can you serve as an unbiased prosecutor and keep politics out of the office?
It's really easier than you might think. I'll tell you why. Because crime really doesn't have a political label to it. You know, if there's a murder, an armed robbery, or a rape, there really aren't any political overtones to it. Occasionally, if you get a case that involves a governmental situation, that could happen. But the overwhelming majority of our cases are not of a political type. So it's probably easier than you think, because people look to our office simply for effective and thorough work. And I think one of the reasons our office has been really one of, to be recognized as one of excellence over the years is because we really concentrate simply on doing the work effectively, and we don't really concern ourselves with the politics.
In a position like that with so many employees, what is your greatest frustration?
My greatest frustration? I suppose the greatest frustration is the fact that you're the biggest target in the county. And if something goes wrong in the office and there's a lawsuit, I'm getting sued. Maybe over things I didn't know about, because it's impossible to oversee every person in your office. Or else then you'd be a terrible micromanager. Because again, a lot of people in this county, they know who their field director is. They know the name of the county prosecutor. And one thing about my job, no matter what you do, you're likely to be half wrong. So I guess that can be frustrating at times.
Well, all public life, you have the 50% rule. You know, you say yes or no. 50% of the time you please people, 50%,
That's right.
you know. It's like it's being a father or a husband.
Yeah, well, you're right.
There are moments.
I tell my wife, I want my way half the time.
Now let's talk a little bit about the efficiency. How does Middlesex County rate compared to other counties in bringing cases to trial? Is our docket too full? Are we too busy here?
Our office really runs very efficiently, and I say that for a couple of reasons, but I also have to say in conjunction with the court system, because we appear in court. But for example, our grand jury section, which screens cases, presents them to a grand jury, we probably have the lowest backlog rate in the state, or we're in the top 2 or 3. And if we're second or third, we're only behind maybe a Somerset or 100 in a much smaller county. So our office runs a very, very efficient timetable. But to be certain, once we say indict a case, then it's got to go to trial. And the courts, the criminal courts in Middlesex County, also are run very, very efficiently, as well as the two juvenile courts, which are part of the family court system. So while you could always speed things up, given the size of our office and size of our county, being the third largest in the state, things really run very efficiently.
You know, if you were to look at television, which many amateur viewers are saying, they see what happens in the case, and at the beginning of the hour, the investigation begins. What is it, Law and Order? They not only identify the crime, find the criminal, and then try them and sentence them in 1 hour's time. And we know that doesn't happen. It's weeks and weeks
and years sometimes.
In many cases, absolutely. Greatest justice system in the world, the American justice system. Where can it be improved?
Well, I think we talked about it just a moment ago, probably with speed. There is an understandable frustration that if someone's victimized by someone, that their case may not come up for a year, year and a half, 2 years. While our system runs very well, it's not perfect. And there are cases on our docket now that are probably 2 years old, maybe going on 3. And that's very frustrating to people. So if you said to me, where can we improve it? There's no doubt that it could be improved if, you know the old saying, justice delayed is justice denied. So,
especially in emotional cases. You know, in the case of a murder with a family waiting for some sort of closure, that has to be a huge, huge frustration.
Sure. Because, our cases, we represent the state. But we have clients like everybody else. I mean, our clients are victims. And sure, they're victimized once when the incident happens. Then they may feel victimized by the frustration of delay. Then they may feel victimized by the verdict.
Yes.
So it can be very frustrating.
Or the experience of having to hear it again in court,
That's
and
right.
then maybe again by the press.
And have to relive it in court.
Absolutely. Let's talk about juries, if we may. Most recently, a mistrial in a case that the jurors thought it was going to be a certain length of time, and then it was like, God, we have lives to live, we have to move on, and they needed to select a new jury. Is the jury system still working for us?
Yes.
Can we find people that really, can I feel confident if I'm before, I wind up being in your court one day, can I be confident that I'm going to be fairly judged?
Yes. Before this job, I sat as a criminal appellate judge for 6 years, and I probably presided over 120, 130 criminal trials, and I could honestly tell you that I never obtained a verdict that I didn't understand. Some I may have disagreed with, I may have thought differently, but I never saw in 6 years an incomprehensible verdict. I think when you put 12 people in a room, they get to, if not the right result, invariably, a result that is justifiable and one that everyone understands. May not agree with it, but I really believe that.
I know, so much has changed about public opinion in cases. Certainly Court TV did that. The O.J. Simpson trial made us all watch day to day and have opinions about juries. And I know a lot of people have lost sort of confidence in juries. Do you think that when you get them assembled, there is this sense of service? Do you feel that?
Yes.
Things become serious? I mean, I've sat in that jury room waiting for possibly to be selected, drinking bad coffee and reading magazines. But I think if I did get selected, it would kick in because I'd want somebody to be fair to me.
Well, you just described the problem, and I've seen it. When people sit down in the jury assembly room, which is windowless, with
it's awful.
with bad coffee,
bad chairs, bad
and
coffee,
maybe old magazines, you're frustrated. But once people come into court, I genuinely find that people want to serve. If people want to get out of jury duty, they try and do before they get there. Once they get there, people want to serve on a case. I've always believed that. Because people understand that, and I've read this, the two most important aspects of public service are serving in the military or jury service. Of course, the old saying goes, you have to get drafted for both. There's no volunteers.
High-profile cases, if I may, if you'd indulge me on this, quite often I'm sure that you've come up against a case where the person you're prosecuting has much more funds than your office. And I'm sure you know of cases like this. Does a prosecutor's office have a chance against a high-profile defense?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. I have a saying in the office. I speak to our section chief for homicides. I said, you can't put a budget on someone's life. So we have spent large sums of money to prosecute, for example, murder cases. And I tell people, you don't save money when you're prosecuting someone for murder. So the answer is, that has never been an issue in any case we've ever prosecuted.
That's great. A good friend of mine was a prosecutor in another county, and it was the Six Flags Great Adventure fire, where so many young people died, perished.
Jack Ford.
It was just a terrible, terrible experience. And Kevin Kelly also from the Marshall trial, involved in there.
Jack was the defense attorney.
Yes, involved in that. And here, that particular prosecutor's office had the prosecutor and a team of detectives, small group of detectives, and maybe an assistant or two, and on the table across the aisle, dozens and dozens of legal eagles with a really big budget, and that just has to be difficult.
Sometimes that works in the state's favor, and I'll tell you why. Sometimes when you have a case of 4 or 5 defendants, sometimes their defenses aren't consistent with each other. Sometimes they trip, and sometimes juries hear inconsistent versions. So sometimes having
less is better.
Sometimes less is better.
Because I never thought of that, Glenn.
Because if you put 2 defense attorneys in a room, and I mean 2 good ones, they may disagree on who they want on the jury. They may disagree on how to question a witness. So sometimes you're right. Sometimes less is better.
So can you ever really learn how to properly pick a jury? I know there's all sorts of psychological studies and the way people sit and the way they look. And have you done any of that deep sort of psychology stuff?
It's clearly art, not science. And there are different theories. The best way for me to have done it or to learn is speaking to people, is speaking to judges, retired judges, people in the office. And I think what you've got to do is you've got to develop a theory of your case. Because, you know, the jury system is designed to be unfair. Designed to be fair, but the lawyers are looking to choose jurors most favorable to them. Out of that process, you get a fair jury. But the answer is I don't think any book could pigeonhole people into pro-state, pro-defense. I think what you do is you've got to learn from experiences by talking to people as to how you think people will see things.
You mentioned victims and families before. Do you think that we are treating victims fairly and with enough compassion? Is there more that we can do, especially in cases of really murders and losses of children? I mean, I often, my heart just breaks for people to have to go through this again. Do we have enough support within the justice system for victims?
In our office, for example, we have a section, a victim witness section, where we have people meet with them, bring them to court, keep them apprised of the status of the case, let them know when there'll be sentencing. So you certainly hope so, because when people come to us, they've already been, like I said, violated once. You hope you make the rest of the road a little bit easier. So are we doing enough for them? I hope so. We have a very active victim witness section. And again, we know people are there, you know, not because they want to be there.
I think one of the greatest improvements in our justice system is allowing victims' families to have a say. You know, sometimes it's purely just getting that out and getting that emotion out, and I think it was very human to be able to do that, to be able to express themselves.
Sure, people want to be heard.
Absolutely.
And people are part of the process.
Yeah. And helps them move forward.
Sure.
So, before you were a prosecutor, lawyer, what type of practice? What was your passion about law? Why law?
Why law? When this goes back a long time, my dad had a factory. It wasn't air conditioned. When he wanted to cool off in the summer, he'd go outside in July. And he impressed upon me from a very young age that, you know, I want you to have it better than me. I mean, he financially was fine, but it was tough. And he didn't want me doing what he did. He wanted, like every parent, he wanted it easier. And the person I really emulated in many ways was my mother's brother, who was a lawyer. Took me to my first Yankee game at Yankee Stadium with my dad. Bought me my first baseball mitt. And he's probably the person who sort of, in a very quiet way, pushed me into law.
If you have 2 daughters.
No.
2 daughters?
One
daughter, 1 son?
1 daughter, 1 son.
Okay. If either of them said to you, Dad, I'm going into law, what advice would you have for them?
Well, I doubt my daughter will say that. I'm sure of that. My daughter, is a figure skater.
Oh.
My answer is do what you want.
Well, that sounds, she could do figure 8s around the
Yeah.
issue. I mean, that's perfect attorney.
My daughter.
She could do a triple Lutz and distract the...
She's got a triple in her program. No, my father never told me what to do. He's told me once, I don't care what you do, but do it well. So I just want my kids, like any other parent or every other parent, to do what you want and be happy. I'm sure my daughter will never go to law school. My son, he's 9, or will be 9. Him, I don't know. But I want them to do what they want to do.
They're probably already good at negotiating. If you're just joining us, with me is Glenn Berman, prosecutor in Middlesex County, on this edition of Conversations. I got to throw you a hard one.
Okay.
It's New Jersey.
Okay.
One of the biggest issues recently, racial profiling in New Jersey. What are some of your thoughts?
Well, profiling obviously is indefensible. But having worked with a number of state troopers over the years, what I feel bad for is that when the whole organization gets tarnished. Again, New Jersey State Police is a premier, is a quality law enforcement agency. And again, I know state troopers. I work out with some at the gym. Again, I've had them on cases. I've seen them as witnesses. And it's a shame that if you have 2,700 troopers, everyone draws a dim view of the entire organization because of what's happened.
I've done some research in this regard, and we evolve from animals, whatever your religious beliefs are, but we have animal-type behaviors, and it's common to look at what's different than you. Small dogs look at big dogs, all right? Boy dogs look at girl dogs. I mean, you look at what's different than you. And I would tell you that if human nature in me, if it was late at night and I was walking, I just came home to the transportation center late last night, and if I were walking and there were young boys out late at night walking down the street, whether they be white, black, Hispanic, young boys on one side of the street, me alone with a pocketbook, I would be especially careful and or move faster to my car. Didn't I just profile? Didn't I just, to protect myself, look at what was more ominous to me, make a decision, and go to my car?
Not necessarily, because you didn't say black, Asian. You didn't say you walked down the side of the street because of the color of their skin or because of because of their ethnicity.
I just was afraid to lose my purse.
And there were a group of people, so you took what you perceived to be a more cautious route. But unfortunately, we live in a society where there's crime. So people understandably, like in your example, want to take the route that they feel is a safer one.
Well, if I were to be a police officer and I saw a middle-class, 50-plus-year-old white man in a Mercedes in a deserted section of my old hometown, Newark, New Jersey, I'd think that the fella is either lost or up to no good. Is that profiling? He doesn't belong in that neighborhood at that time of night. It's a sort of deserted, industrial. He's in a white Mercedes, middle-aged guy, middle of the night. Something's wrong there.
Well, you say he doesn't belong there. Why doesn't he belong there? I mean, he's free to go where he wants. Police officers have a right to possess a level of suspicion. But you cross the line when you stop, detain, arrest, and search people for no other reason.
So you could be suspicious of that person driving around. I mean, I'm going to tell you, if somebody's driving around my neighborhood at 3 in the morning in a car, several times in my neighborhood, I want a cop to say, what are you doing in that neighborhood? Or are you lost?
That's fair. But you'd be suspicious, and I would be, of anyone driving around my house
that's what
at 3
I'm
o'clock.
saying.
And I don't care what their color is. I don't care if they're man or woman. That's not profiling. 3 o'clock in the morning, most people are sleeping.
But it becomes profiling if the person that stopped claims it has been. It becomes at least a discussion of profiling.
It becomes profiling if the stop is based on no other reason, simply than...
Okay, so there would be suspicious behavior driving around a neighborhood in the middle of the night.
No matter what the person's age, sex, race is. I mean, 3 o'clock in the morning is not your, your normal traffic hour.
Well, even though I'm in fear of never having you back again, I'm going to have to ask you this question. In the case of terrorism, which is our biggest battle right now, and I'm sure even in our own county we have standard operating procedures now about terrorism, is it appropriate in the battle against terrorism?
I think we have to be fair there also. Even the president said, the people who bombed the World Trade Center didn't believe in the tenets of the Muslim faith. And I think President Bush said it best after September 11. I think he visited some Muslim temples, and or it's just that Islam. That's not Islam.
Yeah. And you see interviews of young girls that are finally going back to school in Afghanistan, and they love the USA and are happy that children in the USA are sending them supplies through UNICEF.
And men are allowed to shave and listen to music and they go to school.
Exactly. Oh, I'd never do well covered up like that. Much too hot. Initiatives from your office, things that you'd like to accomplish or have accomplished, things that you're proud of.
Overall, I'm very happy with the fact that I tell our people in the office, we're really a service organization. We're there to service the cases that come out of the police departments throughout the county. And I think there have been a number of things we've done which have been very productive. My favorite, I suppose, was early on called Project Exile. I am not a firearm advocate. And Project Exile was something we developed to crack down on people who illegally possess firearms. The word exile comes from the fact that if we funnel some of the firearms cases to the federal prosecutors, several things will happen. Bail's higher, sentences are tougher, no parole in the federal system, and the exile comes from the fact that there are no federal jails in New Jersey. So there are offenses, for example, firearms offenses, which are both state and federal violations. But if we work with the U.S. Attorney's Office to what I call federalize them, and the person's convicted, they go to get a tougher sentence and go out of state. That's one thing that we've worked on. We've done other things, which I'm very strong on community policing. We've encouraged and funded a number of bike patrols throughout the county. I thought, wrongly, that, for example, bike patrols would be useless in towns like East Brunswick or South Brunswick.
Yeah, I've still tried to figure out where are they biking. I understand Main Street, Metuchen, but I don't get Route 18.
Malls.
They're right in the mountain, in the parking lot, in the bike.
Or I'll tell you where they're also superb. Campuses.
Oh,
Rutgers,
absolutely.
Middlesex, where you can't put a car in. And the other thing is, I call them user-friendly. I've had police officers tell me, if they're driving around a neighborhood, people stop and invite them in for a barbecue.
Yeah.
Now, they don't go, but
well, they're approachable.
Exactly. But if you speak to Director Finn in East Brunswick, he'll swear by him. The other thing we've tried to fund, for example, are cameras in police cars. Some other initiatives are, we now develop, speaking of profiling, a uniform consent search policy throughout the county to address profiling, which the Home News ran an editorial on supporting. We also adopted a drug testing policy throughout the county for all police officers. In fact, it applies to our office. In fact, recently my name was pulled out of the hat.
It was your turn.
But I was in court, so they didn't get to me. But
well, I know the other place they can find you is in the gym, because you're notorious for a rigorous workout each and every day.
They'll find me there.
Yeah, in the couple of minutes we have remaining, you happen to be an East Brunswick resident right now, but you're a South River boy. And I have never had a Hall of Famer on my show before, but congratulations.
Well, thanks. I
The
appreciate
South
it.
River Hall of Fame.
Yeah, actually, it's the Wall of Fame.
The Wall of
Right,
Fame, not in the hall.
Well, you know why it's the Wall of Fame, don't you?
Why is that?
Oh, I'll tell you why. When they started it maybe 13, 14 years ago, they used one of the walls in the main corridor, or the halls, and they put, I guess, plaques up of the inductees. So instead of calling it the Hall of Fame, they put you up on the wall and call it the Wall of Fame.
Right. I want to make sure everybody understands it's fame, not shame.
Fame, yeah, I hope so.
I know you enjoyed it. I happened to be there that
know.
night, and your remarks were fabulous. What would you say to young people today considering a career in law enforcement, justice system?
You know, I would tell people what I said that night to the National Honor Society inductees. I heard someone say this a long time ago. the only person that ever stands in your way is yourself. And if people want to go into law, go into it for the right reasons. Don't go into it because it may pay well. Because the bottom line is, you've still got to be happy. I mean, I've known lawyers who over the years have made a huge amount of money and were miserable.
Yeah, yeah. Cried all the way to the bank.
Pretty much.
Well, I really have enjoyed having you here, and I hope that I run into you in the grocery store or in the gym, but I do not want to run into you over in the county courthouse.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. I tell people, I'm a nice guy.
I'm sure you are. Well, there's nothing like a good conversation, and my thanks to Prosecutor Glenn Berman from Middlesex County. Won't you join us again? I'm Judith Leblein. Thanks for watching.